Hello, everybody. It's vanburman here. Welcome back. So, yes, today is one of those where I've sort of thought about something long enough where I've decided how I feel about it, I guess, and something that, or a video that I've wanted to make for a little bit, I guess. I mean, as I mainly see the channel as an archive for myself, it's good to know my own sort of thoughts and opinions at various points in time. So I've sort of stayed off for quite a while on anything to do with this because I sort of don't want to antagonize the overlords. I think might be the best way to put it. But there's a lot of stuff going on, especially now where things are becoming a little bit more unsavory. I think you can probably tell by the whatever I've put in the title that you guys are seeing, which is probably going to sum up exactly what I'm going to talk about. But I'll start off by saying, for full disclosure, I haven't had my vaccines or vaccine as of yet. I am not against having it, so I don't think that's not a thing. I do. Uh, I am willing to get it, and that's not a problem. I'm just holding out for a free kebab. No, I'm not. But I would like just to have the single dose vaccine rather than the two. I had the flu jam for the first time last year, and it made me quite ill. So, and I am relatively fairly susceptible to these sort of things. So, in terms of like vaccines, colds, that sort of stuff. So, not that they're the same, but you know what I mean. So even like smaller stuff sometimes can be a bit of a struggle. So it's one of those choosing when to become ill from the vaccine is not really something that I particularly feel brilliant about having to do. So if I only have to do it the once, that would be much better. And I think that's coming into the UK later on this year, which is good because that sort of fits in with my timescales anyway. So it's more of a case of, you know, to be confirmed the date in which I get it done. But there you go. That's just my personal feeling on it. It's nothing to do with any of the other stuff that's going on there. That's totally in isolation, I think. So the big thing for me is the whole vaccine passports, have to be vaccinated to do X, Y, Z, and I think that it's not just on a UK scale, it's on a worldwide scale. But naturally, you only really think about it from the UK point of view, which is where I'm from, where I'm interested in, and where ultimately me and the people that live on this island can choose who is in power. And up until I'll say from the start and various bits throughout, it's fair to say that Boris tried. Boris Johnson has tried to do his best. I really question the motives behind this vaccine passport, effectively vaccine passport. And the point is, or one of the points is that does affect us on the world scale. Is if other countries are going to do a similar thing, then the UK sort of has to follow suit, I guess. Although we really should be the ones booking the trend, and more than that, we shouldn't be, in my opinion, having vaccine passports or vaccine, well, I guess they are called vaccine passports. You know what I mean? Like vaccine ID cards, effectively. Remember when that was all a big thing? I don't think anyone, even if, I think I've always seen it as, oh, I've got nothing to hide. So why don't I just have, that's fine. I'll have I don't mind having an ID card. It's a bit like, oh yeah, the police can come around my house because I've got nothing to hide, which is true. It's still true. But it doesn't mean I want the police knocking on my door. It doesn't mean I want an ID card to prove who I am. There's enough of that already. And you use it when you need to for job interviews and loans and all that sort of stuff anyway. So, you're more than sufficiently tracked enough. And I don't think that, I think especially as well with the percentage of people that are already vaccinated, to bring it in now when you said you weren't going to, really stinks to me. And I don't like the idea of in any way creating two classes of people. And I think we've had a lot of we've had a lot of really sort of ancient discussion brought up about around having two classes of people. Ironically, the majority of the people in the world didn't fit into either of those two classes, though. I think you know what I'm talking about. I won't mention it, but and this is effectively where we're going. We are going now, and as someone that obviously will get the vaccine and will then get their vaccine passport and be able to do all the stuff. I have absolutely no problem with someone who has decided not to based on religion, just because they don't want to, because actually they're young enough where they're resilient enough against the coronavirus. Because, well, some people have died, of course, and some people have been gone to the intensive care units. All the data shows that especially people under 30 are a lot less affected by coronavirus than older people. So, in my opinion, you shouldn't need to have it unless you're at risk, or unless there's a really, well, no, probably unless you're over 40 or you're at risk. I think for the rest of the people, your natural immunity is probably good enough. Obviously, I must must disclaim to say that I'm not an expert when it comes to diseases or vaccines. So take that with a pinch of salt. This is just my personal opinion. But the whole thing, around two tiers of a citizen, I don't need to be an expert in anything to be able to tell you when stuff doesn't add up. There's a lot of inconsistencies that we've seen throughout. I'll mention a couple, but there's stuff that I've noticed and gone, I'm not really too sure about that. Obviously, the vaccine passport thing is one. Masks are another. I sort of can see the appeal in people wearing masks. We're told at the start that they're not needed and that they can potentially, for some people, be more harmful than others. Obviously, no, you could have not worn one with a medical exemption. But a lot of people have acute cases and that maybe don't need ongoing medical attention or whatever. Then that sort of is a bit of a grey area. Obviously, people will do what they have to do. They always do, of course. But how can a mask? I mean, just like physically, how can a mask only? This is not really, well. You can answer the question if you know the answer, I suppose. But how can a mask only protect other people, not yourselves? It restricts the amount of air you breathe in and breathe out. It's also a physical layer over your face. Surely, if the water particles or the droplets are an issue, they're going to get caught on the outside of the mask where you would normally breathe them in. So, to me, masks should also, if they do protect other people, they also have to protect yourself. I think that's probably something that is, has sort of been overlooked. I've not heard any people ask it. And either I'm being a dum-dum, which is fair enough, or we're missing the point by quite a margin. I'd say probably the other sort of thing that is a little bit or majority inconsistent is the whole thing around timescales, like having to isolate for 10 days, but then if you've got symptoms, you're no longer contagious. That was what we were told at one point. You're only contagious before you start showing symptoms, but then also you can be asymptomatic, which means you wouldn't ever get a test anyway to see if you did have it, but then you would still be spreading it. But you're doing this all in your normal daily lives. I would have probably expected people, we were never told at any point where you have to test regardless. I think that's only really coming recently with the lateral flow test for going into work, for going to, needing a negative test to prove before you go anywhere. To me, the negative test thing makes far more sense than a vaccine passport, to show vaccine status. Showing a negative test that is very recent, I don't know what timescale will be, 24 hours, 40 hours away, actually shows that there is nothing in your body that could transmit, hopefully. Obviously, all this stuff is just risk mitigation, of course. So, yeah, to me, that makes more sense than this arbitrary vaccine passport. And then we now have the issue of boosters, third vaccines, topping up their immunity. To me, that seems disproportionate. And I'll be honest, if you do look at the statistics in terms of deaths, hospitalizations, naturally this has been, a pandemic, but the levels we're at now is not a pandemic. We're probably at normal living levels of infection, hospitalizations, deaths, as compared to anything else, like the seasonal flu. I don't know, this is a bold prediction, but there's every chance that the flu could kill more people this winter than coronavirus will, naturally. So, yeah, I think a little bit more common sense is needed in the discussions that we're having. I think, especially in Parliament, um, it's okay listening to scientists that want to have it triple bagged, quadruple bagged, whereas actually um, trusting people. I know I've seen a lot of stuff where people just don't want to be trusted. I've heard, I've been on the Downing Street Facebook page when Boris Johnson's done his speeches, and I've seen people on there like saying we need more restrictions, restrict people more. I saw my neighbour going outside their house and they're meant to be isolating, putting the bin out or whatever. Um, I'm going to I need to call the police on them. There are stupid things like that going around, and to me it has to be down to the individual. The government is not there to tell you what to do. You vote in the government. The sovereignty is yours, and you lend that power to government to make the rules, to make the laws, not to then tell you how to live. Obviously we got like criminal law, civil law, that sort of thing to keep us keep us in bounds to a degree. To keep a middle pairing, I suppose. Within the sort of normal boundaries. But once you start squeezing one, squeezing the other, you disproportionately affect people. And I think that's where it's gone. And I think that's why I sort of felt so strongly about actually making a video, because I was sort of a long way off ever making one for a very long time. And I just didn't want to talk about it. I thought there's no real point in making a video, putting my head over the parapet. Obviously, not many people will watch this video, which is a good thing, so it won't get flagged up to anyone. But I can't see that anything, and I've really, questioned myself over what I thought and felt for the whole time, and I can't really see how anything doesn't make sense. I can see ludicrousy. Is that the right word? Yeah, of everything else going on around me, and I can't see how my opinion is in any way similar to that. I think we do have. Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't compute with me, and I think I'm a bit I am a little bit concerned, and not to fearmonger or anything like that. But I am concerned around where this leads potentially. I think it's the problem is that it opens the door, or it allows for the door to be opened to further regulation, further monitoring, further surveillance, which we already have enough of anyway. And you know some of you might think that it's okay because you're double jabbed, but that's not the point. You have to you do have to look at it from other people's point of view in a society. You have to really be very conscious about creating proper tiers within that do restrict people arbitrarily, especially based on a medical procedure that some people may not need. I imagine there are probably exemption passports, if you like, which the government, I would guess, are more than happy to issue to those people who can't have the vaccine. So I don't know. It just I don't know. It just doesn't make sense to me. Either the vaccine isn't as effective as we're being told it is. I think that's maybe the only thing I can think, because it seems insidious to offer takeouts or Uber rides or all the things that are going on in America. If it truly is a good thing, surely you would stick to your guns and say, well, that's fine, this is the thing you should be doing, which I do think people, I personally do think people should have vaccines where it's appropriate. But why then for the bribery? And why then for, because let's face it, if you've gone to people and said, look, you're not going to be able to go on holiday, you're not going to be able to go to nightclubs, you're not going to be able to go to big events and festivals, if people still aren't willing to take the vaccine, I don't think I don't think a free kebab or a free Uber ride is necessarily going to change that. I think it only makes you look desperate, and it only makes you look like you're trying to coerce rather than bring people with you. And anyone that has ever done any team building or any management will know that that is just not the way for a long-term sustainable growth or morale, I guess. Morale, zeal, all that sort of stuff. So, yes, I think that's probably probably all I've got to say. As things stand right now, I would be really surprised if the Conservatives with Boris Johnson were able to win another election. I think the next one could be completely topsy-turvy, potentially. And I'm just a bit disappointed that more MPs didn't stand up against the vaccine passport, because it is truly a loss of liberty. That's it. And if you know anything historical about these isles that we live on, or that I live on, depending on where you are in the world, you'll know that is something that has been fought for several times through various bloody wars, trials, tribulations, documentation, decrees, the lot. And I think we would be foolish to allow it to go unchecked. Okay. Thanks for watching, everybody. If you got your own thoughts, leave them below. But I guess it's one of them, isn't it? It's a subject that we ought not to talk about, I think, and we ought to just get on with our lives and not bother with. So, yeah, I just can't help it. Yeah. Anyway, right. Bye for now.